الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا ما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. Okay. Hmm. I have my mark in my Arabic book. It's at a different place. So it says here, Jahd al-Bala. Where is that? Jahd al-Bala. Oh yeah, I remember doing this. Do not help against me. Okay, I think we're here. 667. Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So he says, حدثنا محمد المثنى قال حدثنا الهيثم بن جميل قال حدثنا محمد بن مسلم عن ابن أبي حسين قال أخبرني عمرو بن أبي سفيان عن أبي هريرة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال إن أوثق الدعاء. Yes, there we go, 667, yeah. إن أوثق الدعاء أن تقول اللهم أنت ربي وأنا عبدك ظلمت نفسي واعترفت بذنبي لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت ربي اغفر لي. Okay, is Fakhri here? Yes, Fakhri, can you read for us, inshallah? 667.
Can I?
I think he can't use his mic.
You can't use the microphone? Oh, okay, no worries. You wanna read Shahim?
Yeah. Abu Huraira reported that the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, said, "The firmest supplication is to say, O Allah, you are my Lord, and I am your slave. I have wronged myself, and I admit my wrong action. Only you forgive wrong actions. Lord, forgive me."
Mm-hmm. So,
Abu Huraira reported
one
the
second,
messenger.
one second, Shahim. Right, so this hadith there, right? So you've put the relationship right, you know? So many times in life, for example, someone's talking to you, and it's not really what they're saying, but it's how they're saying it's just off. You know, like that's just very rude the way you're speaking. Like the person's not appreciating the relationship, right? So here you've put the relationship right. I don't have rights on you, O Allah. You have rights over me. I haven't done a good job. I'm not claiming I've done a good job, and I need your forgiveness, and I don't need, so please forgive me. So now you set that relationship right, and now you have that's awthaq dua, and now you make dua. So before you make dua, you always say astaghfirullah, you praise Allah, you seek forgiveness, say, Allah, I've messed up, right? I've really, really messed up. I'm sorry, right? In Salat al-Istisqa, what do we do? With the rain prayer, you make prayer, you put your clothes inside out and upside down. And you're saying, oh Allah, here I am confessing to you that my life is a mess. I accept it. I own the fact that I've messed up. As opposed to, no, I'm totally fine, right? There's a problem, right? There's a problem there. Okay, but so now we're going to do 668. So it says, حدثنا يحيى بن بشر قال حدثنا أبو قطن عن ابن أبي سلمة يعني عبد العزيز عن قدامة بن موسى عن أبي صالح عن أبي هريرة قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدعو اللهم أصلح لي ديني الذي هو عصمة أمري وأصلح لي دنياي التي فيها معاشي واجعل الموت راحة لي من كل سوء أو كما قال. Go ahead. Go ahead, Shahim.
Abu Huraira reported the Messenger of Allah, bless him and grant him peace, used to use this application. O Allah, make my deen correct. It is the support of my affairs. Make my deen correct. It contains my livelihood and make death a mercy for me from every evil.
Okay. Yeah. So correct my deen for me. It is, what is it? الذي هو عصمة أمري. It protects my whole matter, right? It's a support or protection, asma, right? And so he says what? Oh Allah, correct my deen.
It's the support
Make
of
my
my
deen
affairs.
correct. It is a support of my affairs. Allahumma aslihni alladhi huwa asmatu amri. Correct. Aslih dunyaya. And make my dunya correct. Not the second one should be dunya. Waslih li dunyaya. Help me out in my dunya, in my health, in my wealth, in my all these kind of things, right? Help me out in my dunya. Allati fiha ma'ashi. That's how I live life. وَاجْعَلِ الْمَوْتَ رَاحَةً لِي مِنْ كُلِّ سُوءٍ, and make death a mercy for me from every evil. So you're like, oh my God, I'm really sad that I'm dying. Well, maybe it's good for you to be dying right now, right? What if it's a protection from bad things? It's good, right? So we want to die when Allah wants us to die, right? Okay, so important dua there. Okay. حدثنا علي قال حدثنا سفيان قال حدثنا سمي عن أبي صالح عن أبي هريرة. So the previous two hadiths are, yeah, or yeah. قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يتعوذ من جهد البلاء ودرك الشقاء والشماتة وسوء القضاء وشماتة الأعداء. قال سفيان في الحديث ثلاثا زدت أنا والكسل واحدة لا أدري أيتهن. We did this one. That's where we actually stopped off last week. Okay, go ahead, 669. Shahim, if you
Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu reported that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, used to seek refuge from the trouble of affliction, meeting with wretchedness, an evil decree, and the gloating of enemies.
Right, so we have jahd al-bala, extreme difficulty, dark shaqa, being caught up with damnation. Right, shaqi, somebody who is damned to hell forever. So what happened is you started being a bit easy with your sunnahs. Not a big deal. Sunnahs, you can do them, not doing them, it's not a big problem. Quran, like, okay, you didn't do Quran today, do tomorrow, not big deal. So you started to be a bit lax in some of the extra sunnahs in your life. Okay, and then you persistently miss them. And then you start engaging into makruh regularly, right? You're drinking there, you leave your left hand, someone says, you shouldn't do that. Like, it's okay, it's not haram. So whatever. Other things, don't do this, don't do this. Different things are coming up in your life. And it's okay. You've accepted from yourself that the makruh is just part of your life. It's not haram at the end of the day, right? It's not haram. So now you're involved in the makruh. And then you start doing some things that are debated. We say, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. There's different madahib, right? Some people say this is halal, some is haram. Alhamdulillah. Take the rukhsa, mashallah. So now you're happy doing things that are debated. Some people say it's halal, some people it's haram. I'm happy doing that, not a problem. And now you're pushing it to things that most people say they're haram, but some people say are halal. And then you keep doing that. And now you're just doing the haram. It's okay, Allah is merciful, right? If you have a free pass to Jannah, might as well use it, right? Allah is merciful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive your sins. Not a big deal. So now you're persisting in sins, and then worse sins, and then worse sins. So your life has got bit by bit worse, and then eventually you're caught up with shaqa. You ask the question, you say, listen, at the end of the day, there's four madhahib, there's different ways of looking at things, which is fine. And there's three versions of Allah's religion, right? Judaism, Christianity, Islam, it's all one, like one message, right? It's all one. Like I'm Muslim, right? But I accept Christianity as truth and accept Judaism as truth, even though I pray in the masjid, right? What's happened to me? What happened to my iman? I lost my iman. Gone. But I'm praying in the masjid. Yeah, I know you're praying in the masjid. But what? Because your iman got weaker and weaker and weaker, and then it just loses it, right? Is what happens. So people don't wake up. It's not like this. You're a strong believer and then you become weak. It's not like that. It's that you make decisions and you persist in those decisions and they go further and further and further and further. And then they wake up one morning, you're like, you don't really see, you don't have the commitment to it. Right. So that's dark shaqa, being caught up. Damnation catches up with you, right? Dark shaqa وسوء القضاء وشماتة الأعداء. And then it says what here? Go ahead. If you read the last one, Sufyan, one of the transmitters said.
The gloating of enemies.
And then it says here, Sufyan, one of the transmitters said.
Oh. Sufyas, one of the transmitters, said there were three items in the hadith. I added one, but I do not know which one.
So did the narrator make a mistake?
No.
He said he added one. He said they were in the hadith. It mentioned three things. He said, so he's saying, I myself made a mistake. I added one, and I can't remember which one. So at least I'm being frank, right? So this is very important. Do you think we see this in the Bible? Like the narrator from Mark says, oh, by the way, this extra fact here was added to me by someone. Do we even know who these narrators are? Do we know anything about them? Do we know like any mistakes that they've made? Right? We have no idea. There's actually no analysis whatsoever and no ability to analyze it whatsoever. Right? Like one of my teachers, he said this. He says, why do we trust Sahih Bukhari? He says, we trust Sahih Bukhari because we know all of its mistakes. Meaning it's like exposed, like there's actually analysis of it. You know what I'm saying? Like you could actually go through it and find out what's wrong with it, what's right with it, as opposed to, oh, the Bible, I have no idea, right? No idea, like no ability to question, no idea to even start questioning any of it. You could maybe question it historically, linguistically, that's about it, right? So in like Bible studies, they'll look at the different New Testaments and the different kind of Greek used in different ones, right? So the language can analyze from that point of view, might find something. Look at history, but you're basically talking about something that's totally in the dark. You do not know what's going on. Where here, this is Sufyan al-Thawri, I think. Here, Sufyan al-Thawri saying, hey, by the way, I made a mistake. And yeah, I don't know which one it was. So he's totally exposing himself. It's very frank, right? So that means if he knows what he knows, he's going to say, I know it. If he doesn't, he's going to say, I don't. And it's a very real situation and very human and very critiquable. And we're like, yeah, there could be mistakes here. Yeah, that's okay. But at least I can analyze it as opposed to having no information at all, right? It's like Fox News. Iran has said this. Who said Iran has said that? There's actually no info. They're not quoting any sources, so you couldn't critique it. It's actually like it's non-factual as opposed to like something factual, which is, here's this person based on this interview with this person. They said this, this, this. So a lot of information is actually like non-factual. It's just like it's not even critiquable because they don't even give you enough information for even you to take it apart, right? Whereas Islam, the beautiful thing with Islam in general and Hadith in specific is if you have an objection, you can take it apart. You read a hadith that sounds odd. Well, go and research it. You're not obliged to believe in Bukhari. Go research it if you like. Oh, I think this guy's a misogynist. I think these guys were all Shi'is. I think these guys were all this group. They're all that group. Okay, research it. Look at their lives. Find out what's going on. Who do they know? Who do they not know? You'll find all this information. And you'll find things that were embarrassing, right? You'll find things that were embarrassing. Who is it in the Tabaqat of Ibn Sa'd? He mentions once Ibn Umar hit one of his wives so hard that her belt fell off. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? They're like, yeah, he made a mistake. Like there's like domestic violence, right? It's like, so is it all like, oh, everybody's perfect and everything's really good and you can never critique it. Say, no, there's actually problems here. Yeah, look, here's a problem. You know, one of my teachers said the same thing. He said, how can you trust the Sahaba even though they fought? There was once a civil war. He says it is precisely because of the civil war that you can trust them. I.e., they had an argument and they could have lied, but they didn't. There were reasons to lie, but they didn't. Right? So when you see contention between people and then they don't lie, they could have been saying, Qala Rasulullah, Qala Rasulullah, the Prophet said this. They could have made up their own versions of the deen, but they didn't. So that means I can trust you, right? So it's very important to understand that. I remember I was showing this to a Christian once, and the Christian was like, "Oh, Islam is so modern. It's like weird. Like they like what is mysterious, whereas Islam is like real. Like here's a real thing. You have a question. Who is this person? Who is that person? You know, are you worried that this person's involved in politics, overly involved in politics? Are you worried that the content is off? You can critique every single thing and take it apart. And here we go. He's putting himself on the line saying, hey, I made a mistake and I don't know where the mistake is. Right? There we go. Happens. Okay, 670. So it says
We had a hadith last week as well, right? Where the narrator said
no,
something similar.
it was the same thing. I repeated it. That's why. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So but these things happen, right? These things happen. Okay. Another example, the Mahdi. Oh, the Mahdi is invented by the Shia. The whole idea of the Mahdi is invented by the Shia. You say, okay, let's look at the narrators. Are they all Shia? You know, if that's the case, right? Is it everything that's about Sayyidina Ali is all narrated by the Shia? Like, and everything that praises Aisha is narrated by the non-Shia? Is that how it is? Like, that's not true. Go look at these people. If you have a claim, go look at it. Right? How do we know if we're asking too many questions or not? The why you're asking that question. So what are you trying to do? But the point is, there's things that there's people that believe in things that you have no ability to question because there's no information there. It's just like a legend, right? And so that's what it is like. Other religions are like legends. There's no sources for it. There's nobody you can find out where does this legend come from. It's just a legend, you know? King Arthur and the Round Table, like, where's that even from? You know what I'm saying? So they live this life when they believe in legends. It's almost like, whereas Islam is not like that. You know, like imagine if you had a friend who literally believed in UFOs, and you're like, okay, bro, show me your evidence. So he sits you down. And you're like, okay, show me video by video and video. And he's like, listen, I believe in aliens. This is my reason. And he goes through it. You can start looking at, well, this video isn't very clear, is it? He's like, you're right, that one isn't, and this one isn't very clear, is it? And he has particular videos, as opposed to many people who believe in these things. They're kind of like not really logical. They're like, yeah, bro, they're watching us. Like who? Them. They're like, who are they? And what is the evidence for them watching you? You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is with Islam is it's not like a legend. It's like here's a book, here's a manuscript, here's a narrator, here's a person's name. I can look up these people, find out things about them. If you don't like the hadith or it's strange to you or it's weird, you will be like, yeah, this makes sense, right? Or whatever it is you want to ask. It's all there. Where there's other religions, you can't ask those questions because it's just a legend. Does that make sense? Fakhri, make sense? And so when you say, "Am I asking too many questions?" That depends on you, right? What are the questions that come to you, right? Um, but in principle, what we call hadith, the hadith scholars, they're not called hadith scholars, they're called hadith critics. They're called an-nuqad, right? In fact, I want to tell you a story, okay? I'll tell you a story, Fakhri, that gives you example about asking too many questions, okay? So one thing that would often happen is that there'll be a sheikh, for example, he's very, very famous, okay? And he wants to narrate hadith, okay? So what he will do is instead of him telling you the hadith, because it takes a bit long time, you read it to him, right? So imagine, for example, I'm narrating this. I've read this book like 50,000 times to people. I'm like tired. I'm 60 years old. And so what I do is people visit me in my hometown. They come to me with their own book, okay? and then they read their version of my book to me, and I say, there we go, done. Okay, and then they narrate from me. They have now their chain transmission going through me. Okay, so they come to me and they read the book. That's called talqeen. Okay, now what could be a problem with that? What could be a problem? What if I don't read it to him properly? What if I misread it to him? Or I change it? My copy of his book is not actually accurate. And I read it to him. And he's like, yeah, yeah, great. Would that be problematic? Super problematic, right? So, in order for this system to work, I need to know that specifically, A, you will accept people to read to you, and B, you will be very picky about what they say. Like every single time they make a mistake, you're like, stop, that's wrong. It's like this. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah? So that means if you're not picky about the hadiths that are read to you, then you're going to have students that will quote you on hadiths incorrectly. And then you're reliable and they're reliable apparently, and then everyone's going to believe the hadith even though it's incorrect. You follow me? It's like having a bad teacher who doesn't care about the grades. Like, hey kids, this is how you say this, right? Shayham, have you ever had teachers at school that teach you English and they don't know how to pronounce English words?
Um, yes.
It happens, right? And the teacher says, no, no, it's this, and like they're like, teacher, that's not the word, right? And it's like, and that so now basically, and then you might have a teacher, so the teacher learned English from someone who can't speak English. And then they're saying it like this. It's like, that's not the word, bro. Like, that's not how you say it. And then it's like, what are you doing? So then it's kind of funny. So in order for English, right, in order for teaching to work, I have to correct my students and make sure they're pronouncing the words correctly, right? Otherwise, it will come on a funny way. And so if that's not system not done properly, then the English will get changed, right? So the same thing in hadith. So they would test shuyukh and make sure that if they accept people to read to them, were they nitpicky and careful about the mistakes that the sheikh would make? Okay? Does that make sense? They would test these things. So there's a story that goes, I believe it was with Yahya ibn Ma'in and Imam Ahmad. So Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, one of the teachers of Imam Bukhari, right, of our author, very, very righteous man, very, very pious man. Okay, and he is with his co-scholar, Yahya ibn Ma'in, if I remember correctly. So the two of them are they're going to say, we're going to go and test the sheikh. We want to test the sheikh and see if does he correct the mistakes that the students make or not. So Imam Ahmad was on the madhab of Fakhri and said, no, it's bad adab, right? You don't go and test the sheikh. Okay? The sheikh is the sheikh, khalas, leave him alone. Don't ask too many questions, just trust people. Yahya Ma'in says, I have to. Because I want to know tomorrow when somebody quotes him, I want to know that they read the hadith to him and he corrected them meticulously. So it's all accurate. Otherwise, I can't trust the chain, can I? There might be a mistake. So they go and visit the sheikh. And so Yahya Ma'in, he does a trick. He gets the book of the sheikh, and every 10th, he adds every like 9 hadiths, he adds a 10th hadith. So he's adding hadiths to the sheikh's hadiths that are not his. And so he's reading, it says, Sheikh, you narrate from so and so, from so and so, from so and so, the Prophet said such and such and such and such and such and such. And the Sheikh's like, yes. And you narrate from so and so, from so and so, from so and so, from this person. He said, yes. 10th hadith, and Sheikh, you narrate from so and so and so, and the Prophet and the Sheikh's like, no, right? That's not correct. So what's happening is the Sheikh is sitting there on this ledge, okay? He's sitting there on this bench, and on one hand, he's holding Imam Ahmad's hands. And the other one is there's a sheikh, the other sheikh is reading, right? There's these 2 students on either side of the teacher, okay? So now Yahya Ma'in, he adds 1 hadith. So the sheikh's like, no, 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 delete that. That's not my hadith. So he reads. Lo and behold, hadith number 20 also added. He's like, that's not my hadith. Delete that. it reads. Hadith number 30 also added. So the sheikh realizes what's going on. And the sheikh gets a bit ticked off. So he looks at Imam Ahmad, he says, as for you, you would have too much adab. You'd be like Fakhri, like, how can you're asking too many questions? Like, why are you know, like you wouldn't do that. As for Imam Ahmad, you wouldn't do that. That's kind of rude, right? Like tricking the sheikh like that. And then he says, as for you, and he looks at Yahya Ma'in and he just kicks him and pushes him off the ledge, stands up, goes inside his house, slams the door, and class over. So Imam Ahmad's like, dude, that's so bad. Like the sheikh just kicked you off the ledge, right? You got kicked off the ledge by the sheikh. Like that's how bad this class ended. Like we're not going to hear the rest of the hadiths, and you got kicked off the ledge by the sheikh. Like you're a head case. What was Yahya Ma'in's response? What did he say? So Imam Ahmad was like, you just got kicked off the ledge by a sheikh, right? Like, imagine if you got punched in the face by Mufti Mink, right? You'd be like, dude, that's the guy who got punched in the face by Mufti Mink for being rude. I was like, oh my God, right? That's really embarrassing, right? So what did Yahya Ma'in say? He said, yeah, but it was worth it though, right? In fact, he didn't say it was worth it. It was worth going there and back because they have to travel far, right? On horseback and these kind of things. Travel through the desert is very difficult. So it was 100% worth the whole journey because now I know that I can trust the sheikh. I don't care that he personally got ticked off with me, and I don't care that I got kicked off the ledge, but I do know that I have defended the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ by making sure I know who we can trust and who we can't trust. Does that make sense? So the muhaddithin, they're cutthroat. They don't, it's not about nice. It's about accuracy. It's not about who, it's about can I trust you? Does that make sense? It's very important. And interestingly, they'll say, who makes the most mistakes? The most righteous people. Because they're all like airy-fairy, kind of like, they're worried about their sins and like worried about, how they're change, worried about their prayers. Whereas other people who are a bit more like here on planet Earth, they're a bit more thorough, right? And so this is often the case that the super religious people who are dedicated to lots of ibadah, they actually make more mistakes because they're not thorough. And so just because you're religious doesn't mean I can trust you. Because being a good person doesn't make you accurate. It's not the same thing. So you have to be religious enough so you wouldn't lie, but you also have to have your feet on the ground that I know you don't make mistakes. And it's like this and it's like that. Does that make sense? You have to have people who are very nitpicky about the details and specific about this and about that, because otherwise you'll have errors. Did he say this word or did he say that word? Right? Because it has repercussions. Drastically different to the Bible. It's like New Testament written in Greek, even though Jesus spoke what? Aramaic. So obviously I have no idea what he said. And then nobody's saying, I heard Jesus say, and I heard, that doesn't exist, right? No, because they are very careful. So it can be, so bad prints, yeah, a bad print, yeah, it does exist. But there are bad prints and good prints. So a text where they were very meticulous about what was going on, and text that they don't care. So there was a fiqh book, okay? There was a fiqh book, and it said Masalat al-Thadyain, the discussion of the two breasts. And they're like, oh my God, it is not the mas'ala of the two breasts. It is masalat at-tadyin. So they accidentally put the ta with 3 dots. So it's tadyin, which is like where there's a conflict between the court and morality, and you have to go with what you know, even though the court says something else in certain scenarios in marriage. Okay, it's called masalat at-tadyin. So they printed it masalat at-tadyin, the discussion of the two breasts. It's like, do you even know what you're printing? Like that happens. Like there's a lot of stupid prints today. Like it doesn't make any sense. Yesterday we saw something like that. I was in one of my classes. Like that doesn't make any sense. Right. So yes, it can be problematic. Yeah, it does. It's a bad prints exist by default. There's lots of bad prints, but there are lots of good prints as well. People spend a long time with Like imagine if you spent like a long time researching something and what it is and what it isn't, different manuscripts and these kind of things. Yeah. Does it make sense, Fakhri? But the point is, other religions is like a legend. And do you like that legend or you do not like that legend? That's what means believing in Christianity, right? Islam, I'm not talking about believing. Do I just like that the legend of Jesus? It's a legend. Whereas this is his history. Like here are these things. In fact, you can trust hadith way more than you can trust recent history, right? Like let's go recent American history, last 100, 200 years. You can trust hadith way more than that because it's much more detailed in terms of who's narrating it and what's going on, right? Who said what and who said what and who quoted that person. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, very thorough, and that's one of the many ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected the religion. Tajweed, right? Tajweed is ridiculously detailed. It's another way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has meticulously protected the religion. Usul al-fiqh. When you study the deen, you're like, oh my God, if there were a final religion that God destined to be preserved, it would be Islam. 100%. And no other religion, like I make that claim, I'm not trying to just say stuff. No other religion has the academic rigor that Islam has and self-criticism. That's important. So Christianity is critiqued today, but it didn't critique itself initially, right? Whereas Islam critiqued itself. Like what do we know and what do we know would we not know? Right? Islam was self-critical, whereas Christianity was not originally self-critical. Does that make sense? Like Christian scholars did not critique Christianity, right? Whereas Muslim scholars have always done that. Yeah. Okie dokie. So 60. Okay. 670. حدثنا عبيد الله عن إسرائيل. Oh my God. Why are you studying with somebody called Israel? So Imam Bukhari's grand teacher is called Israel. Israel. Why on earth would you narrate from like a Jew? حدثنا عبيد الله عن إسرائيل. Is Israel a good name or a bad name? Good. Which prophet is called Israel? Bani Israel, the sons of Jacob, Yaqub. Okay, so Jacob, right? Yaqub is Israel. So the children, the sons, the tribe of Sayyidina Yaqub, right? So you have the 12 sons of Sayyidina Yaqub, right? And then each of those tribes are a what's it called? Are a tribe, a sub-tribe, right? The 12 tribes of the lost tribes of Israel, right? The 12 tribes of Israel, right? So Israel is Sayyidina Yaqub. It's a beautiful name. So you cannot say bad things about Israel. You can say bad things about the state of Israel, right? But not Israel himself, right? So I remember in University of Jordan, they used to have like an Israeli flag on the floor, and they wrote Israel in English, and then everyone's like walking on it, right? That's not a good thing to do, right? It's not because that's the name of a prophet, right? You shouldn't do that. So here we have a famous, muhaddith called Israel. Like, why are you called Israel? It's a good name, right? And Israel, go ahead. Has someone had a question? Okay. And Israel an Abi Ishaqa, right, from Isaac, the father of Isaac. And Amr ibn Maymun عن عمر قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يتعوذ من الخمس من الكسل والبخل وسوء الكبر وفتنة الصدر وعذاب القبر. Go ahead, Bismillah, 670.
The Prophet Umar said, the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, used to seek refuge from five things: laziness, miserliness, bad pride, the trial of what is in the breast, and the punishment of the grave.
Okay. So it says here, Su al Kibar. So here's example of mass translation. So here it's not the print, it is the the translation's totally off, right? Bad pride. So it doesn't say Su al Kibr, it says Su al Kibar. Kibr is pride. Kibar is old age, right? So laziness, miserliness, and growing old in a bad way, right? You have continual back problems. You can't go to the bathroom. You're senile. You can't remember anything. You know, these kind of things. So the process used to seek protection from that. Su'ul kibar, right? Wafittat al-sadr, the punishment, or is it the trial of what is in the breast, i.e. what's in your heart, right? Allah protect me from having bad feelings towards other people, arrogance, whatever it is, right? So this bad pride, that's just a mistranslation, right? And the punishment of the grave. Okay, Bismillah. So he says, حدثنا مسدد قال حدثنا معمر قال سمعت أبي قال سمعت أنس بن مالك يقول كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول اللهم إني أعوذ بك من العجز والكسل والجبن والهرم وأعوذ بك من فتنة المحيا والممات وأعوذ بك من عذاب القبر. Go ahead, 671.
Anas ibn Malik said, the Prophet ﷺ used to say, O Allah, I seek refuge with you from incapacity, laziness, cowardice, and old age. I seek refuge with you from the trials of life and death. I seek refuge with you from the punishment of the grave.
So al-ajz, right? So it's ajz, like you're not doing what is right. Like you know you can do this in your deen and your dunya, but you're just not doing it, right? So this ajz and laziness is a major, major problem, right? Major problem. You know, so many times, you know, somebody comes up to me, they're like, Sheikh, oh, I'm not married. And they're like, okay. And they're like, why? I can't afford to get married. Okay, do you work two jobs? It's like, no. It's like, well, why not? You know, there was one brother, he had marriage problems, and he was like, what was he doing? He's like, he was living with his parents and he's working part-time and his wife's pregnant. And I was like, why on earth are you working part-time? Just basically because he's like a teenager, like just kind of like just like hanging out. So this thing about laziness is very, very bad, right? It's a real problem. It's like, no, you need to, like, you can't do everything, but everything it's not a problem that you can't do everything. It's a problem that the things you can do that you don't do, right? Like, oh, I need to sleep 8 hours. Okay, you need to sleep 8 hours, and it takes me time. Okay, so you take away 8 hours from the day, take away another 2 hours, take in okay, let's say you take away 4 hours, so 12 hours. Is your day a 12-hour day? No, it's not. It's like a 5-hour day. So how did you get 12 hours? Where did the other 7 hours go? You know what I'm saying? So it's a problem, right? So we have to have this thing about ulu al himma. So unfortunately, what you find is like in the East, people are lazy, right? Is that correct, Shayham?
Yes.
Yes and no, right? But you'll find like so in Bangladesh, there's people, right? You'll find people in Bangladesh like obviously that you're in Sri Lanka, sorry. In Sri Lanka, there's many people who simply don't have opportunities. Like I just can't do what you could do. I didn't go to the school. I don't know English. I can't do things on software. I can't do this. I can't do that. Like it's very difficult, very limited. But there's other people like 100% you could do this. Like you could learn English if you get access to the internet. You could learn coding. You could learn. You could do so many things, but they just don't do it. You know, I remember people. I was in Jordan. People like, oh, can you teach me English? And I'm like, you can learn English online. Just go on YouTube. It's free. You know, they're like, no, just teach me because you're the ajz will kasal, right? You're too lazy, right? So and particularly people, speaking to people who not married and don't have kids, you can do a ridiculous amount of work, right? You can do a ridiculous amount of things. Oh, I can't do this. Yes, you can. You're just lazy, right? Okay, maybe you have to look after your parents. You have to do this, but a lot of people you can do a million things. You're just lazy, right? And what's the phrase? Look after the pennies, and the pounds will look after themselves, right? Look out for the pennies, and the pounds will look out. If you're careful with small money, the big money you'll save big money, right? Same thing with time. Look out for the moments, right? The way that you function with time, with the screen, with messages, right? So, for example, using WhatsApp, it's a huge waste of time. It's not effective business, right? If you work with effective business people, they will ignore lots of things because not priorities. They're like, why are you ignoring me? So I'm not ignoring you. It's just you're not a priority. So when you don't have a priority matrix, right, then you end up prioritizing things that are not important. So then you don't know effective. So we have to be cutthroat in relevant, not relevant, right? Relevant, not relevant. And a lot of things just cut out I can't do that. It's not relevant. It's not priority. I have to do this, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want us to be lazy and incapable. Go out, do something, achieve in your deen and your dunya. Go, right? As opposed to you sitting there being a bum and not doing anything, right? And unfortunately, if you see that with religious people more, because religious people, they have a delusion in their mind that it's good to be poor and it's good to the dunya is not important. So they'll hang out, right? So they're in the masjid, they walk slowly to the masjid, they pray their sunnahs, they pray the things, they sit after the prayer, do some Quran, but then they walk very slowly home. Like, why are you walking slowly? The Prophet said, what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, waqsid fi mashik, be purposeful in your walking, right? One of my teachers, you walk next to him, you can hardly catch up with him. Every single second, he has 20,000 clocks in his house. Every single moment, there's a thing. The adhan is going 3 minutes later, this, right? 1 minute later. So if you don't care about minutes, then you don't care about hours. If you don't care about hours, you don't care about days. Simple as that. If you don't care about days, you don't care about your life. But it's by the minute, this tick, 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 tick. What are you doing now? 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 Have the goals reached? Research this, right? Check, right? Do things as opposed to just wasting time, right? Ajz wal kasal, the inability to do what is right, and and succumbing to just being lazy, right? And a very tricky thing, particularly with righteous people, is doing good things when you should be doing better things. So it's not an issue that you're doing something good and not doing something haram. That's fantastic. MashaAllah, you're doing something good but not haram. The issue is that you could have done something better, right? You could have done something better. So it's still just you could have done something better. Why did you not do something better, right? So it's very important. Don't be lazy. Don't be incapable. Go out there, do something useful, right? And it's very, very sad. Again, when you see people, particularly young men, all these young women are waiting to get married and there's no men there because they're all like kids. They're still teenagers, right? So you shouldn't be a teenager. Go and work hard, get a second job, get married, have kids, work hard, right? These are things that you should do. I remember one of my teachers, he told me I was working in Ramadan and I was like, Sheikh, this is so hard. I'm working 60 hours. It's really difficult. I'm totally exhausted. He's like, yeah, good. You're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. I was like, oh, okay. I was shocked, oh, maybe I'm supposed to, But he's like, you're doing the right thing, right? As long as you're not doing it for the dunya, meaning you don't care about the dunya. I don't care about the dunya, I don't care about making money, and I don't care about achieving the dunya. As long as you don't care about it, it's not in your heart, then you should go full speed. I don't care about getting a master's at all. So you go full speed to get a master's. So there's a big difference between want, have a lust for achievement and a lust for money and a lust for all these things, versus I don't care about this, but Allah wants me to get off my royal behind and get a job, get a second job, and work hard and develop and work my way up, etc., and do things, serve my own company, make tons of money, buy another company, flip that company, do these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do that, right? So a workaholic is bad because they love their work. But if you don't care about your work, it's fine. I'm not interested in the work at all. For Allah, I don't. It's not personal at all. But for the sake of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to work hard and do and achieve, right? And be competitive in the working place. It's very important, and not be lazy in school or anything else. Cowardice and old age here means al-haram, which is being not old. It's good to be old, right? May Allah all let us live to 150 and do lots of good deeds. The issue is you're 70 and you got diabetes, this, that. Why? Because you didn't look after yourself. So same thing again, religious people. Statistically, who's going to be healthy, more healthy? And who does more exercise? Irreligious people or religious people? Who's going to do more exercise?
The irreligious people.
Yeah, which is stupid, right? It doesn't make any sense. So the religious people are fat and lazy and eat too much and don't look after their body. And then irreligious people do. Now, what's the difference? The irreligious person is doing it for the wrong reason, right? So he's doing it for a different reason. So he's doing it for a worldly reason. That's true. But the point is, it's not your right to give yourself diabetes. It's not your right to, oh, this is how I am. It's in my genes. Well, you can also reverse it to some extent, right? It's like, oh, that's how I eat. You don't actually have to eat like that. So what they do is they just succumb to a situation that's not real, right? Yes, there are people in the world where it's actually if to eat healthily would be ridiculously expensive for them, it would be like I couldn't do it. So I have to eat this kind of food, okay? To some extent, not an absolute sense, right? Some people I don't have another job. I have to sit down in the taxi for 14 hours a day and it's destroying my back. I don't know what else to do. That's true for some people, but not everybody. So it's not everybody and it's not all the time, right? Could you stop in the taxi and, for example, stop every hour and do some squats, for example, to help the blood flow properly? Yeah, you could do that, right? And it would change you long term. 14 hours a day of driving, continually sitting in the same position, that's going to harm you, going to harm your circulation, it's going to have lots of problems, right? But if you look after your body, say, I fear Allah concerning my body, stop, do some squats for a minute. Nothing's going to happen to your livelihood. Do some push-ups, right? Doesn't matter if people think it's stupid. It's not a big deal, right? These little things, these mini things could change your life, change how much oxygen you're getting, change how the blood flow and all these different things, right? So it's very important. People are lazy. They don't look after themselves, right? They can't say no to sugar, even though it's going to cause that, even if it's worse, they're making their diabetes worse, right? And so you look at the person that's a sheikh, say, sheikh, you actually committed suicide. So there's no difference between the sheikh who doesn't look after his body and the sheikh who smokes, because it's the same thing, right? Same thing. And they say, oh, I should make dua, right? You don't just, make dua, but you're responsible for your body. So don't be incapable. You're responsible for what's going on, right? And so there's a very important thing, like al-ajz wal-kasal is a huge thing. Really, really big thing. Like really not a small thing at all. And that's exactly what we have right now. Al-ajz wal-kasal, like, bro, you have so much potential. You achieved literally like 2% of your potential. Right? And right? Because you were incapable, you didn't use it properly, you didn't prioritize things, and you didn't, you're just lazy, right? So it's really, really important. You don't have any kids, you're not married, you can do a million things, right? Or you could do nothing. It's up to you. Right? You could achieve nothing, or you could achieve everything. Right? Even if you have to sleep, right? Like I remember being like a teenager, still now I have to sleep, but like as a teenager, like one of these things that would catch me is I'd try and go, 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 but then I wouldn't sleep enough, and then I'd fall asleep somewhere else, right? So it may be that you need to sleep 8 hours, 9 hours, but even if you sleep 9 hours a day, you still have another 15 hours. And even if you took 3 of those hours, you still have 12 hours or 11 hours or 10 hours. You do not have 5 hours, right? When someone's like, oh, they only managed to get 5 hours of things done, it's like, what are you talking about? Right? So it's very, very important, right? Being very diligent with our time. Okay, inshallah, concerning diligent time, we have the end of the class. Inshallah, forgive me for staying late today. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Oops. Right, so social media, is a problem, right? Because it just wastes time. It's not even what you're doing. You might be just going flicking through shiur stuff. It might be all religious. It might be fantastic. It's a waste of time, right? Why is it doing this? Okay, وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك